Hello and welcome to News Blitzer. As indicated by social media posts following the issuance of an arrest warrant against Gautam Adani and 6 of his associates by a New York court over charges pertaining to bribery and fraud to the tune of $265 million, many Indians believe that nothing will happen to Adani in the US civil and criminal proceedings. These sections of Indians have good reasons to come to such conclusions. The earlier Hindenburg report exposing Adani's financial and stock manipulations was sufficient for ED, CBI and SBI to investigate and prosecute Adani, but the matter was swept under the carpet under the cover of a manufactured report filed by SBI, which is controlled by the Modi government, and gave Adani a clean chit. The Indian public knows all of this, which is why sections of them believe that nothing would happen to Adani both in the US and in India. In reality, though, nothing could be further than the truth in Adani's US indictment. Trump may be the president, but for several reasons there is very little that he can do for Adani or for Modi in this issue without damaging himself seriously, which is what he will not want. To begin with, the charges against Adani filed in a New York court are filed by Securities and Exchanges Commission or SEC and Department of Justice or DOJ after a close to 2-year-long investigation. Both entities are US government bodies, not a short seller such as Hindenburg, whose allegations you can dismiss claiming they are false. Importantly, the SEC, which is not answerable to the White House, never files cases unless it is certain of conviction, which is why its conviction rate is over 98%. The last time the SEC moved against a multinational operating in India was against Enron in 2001 over accounting fraud that led to the jailing of 2 of the company's executives and collapse of the company and its auditors Arthur Andersen. The SEC has volumes of prima facie evidence against that Trump can do nothing about. In a statement, Sanjay Vadva, acting director of the SEC's Division of Enforcement, said, "We will continue to vigorously pursue and hold individuals, including senior corporate officers and directors, accountable when they violate our securities laws." Secondly, the separation of powers between the US executive and the DOJ is more or less written in stone, as we have seen since Watergate. More recently, this was once again demonstrated when President Biden's son was prosecuted and convicted by the courts in a gun purchase and drug use case. If Biden could not influence the courts over the trial of his own son, and more importantly the courts did not spare Hunter Biden despite being the president's son, what can Trump do for Adani regarding the court proceedings? The US governmental and administrative system is very well structured and demarcated, unlike India, wherein, though separation of powers between state and the courts is on paper, in practice it often is not so, as demonstrated in several cases. Third, Trump was elected significantly because of his America First election campaign, whereas the charges against Adani involve massive defrauding of Americans to raise as much as $3 billion. Besides, Adani is not creating jobs in America. He is making money off American investors. Trump cannot be seen to be helping Adani at the expense of Americans without evoking serious consequences for himself and the Republican Party. Moreover, it is reported that in his second term, Trump, who earlier had reservations of the FCPA in order to favor the American business lobby, has changed his stance on it and is keen on going after foreign companies. He does not need Modi's approval to do that. Finally, the Modi-Trump friendship is highly overrated and exists more in Modi's head than it in Trump's. For Modi, any head of state he meets is a friend given his inadequate understanding of diplomacy and how heads of states function. Nothing is permanent in international relations and personal friendships are rare. On the other hand, for Trump, the rallies with Modi in the US and in India during his first tenure as president, which gave an impression of a friendship between the two, were all about Trump's benefit, not about any benefit to India. Trump's relationship with Modi is purely transactional, even as Trump no more has political use for Modi, as he no more needs votes of Indians in US to become president again. He cannot run for a third term and would hence focus on leaving a legacy to be proud of than the one he presently has. What Trump is likely to do is to use the situation to arm twist not Adani but India by advising Adani and Modi to go in for a bargain plea and settlement involving heavy fines while extracting his pound of flesh from India, not Modi or Adani. This would be a political decision by Trump, but even such a plea is seriously damaging for Adani. This is because the plea also means accepting guilt of committing bribery and fraud, which will have serious consequences for Adani globally, as close to 70% of Adani's external funding is raised abroad. Already, after Adani's indictment, Kenya has cancelled all projects with Adani, while Australian investor GQG has begun withdrawing its investments in Adani's projects in the country. In Sri Lanka too, the government is under heavy pressure to cancel all deals made with the Adani Group, as they were reportedly made under pressure from Modi. Adani could also possibly face being blacklisted in US and elsewhere. Whatever political and administrative help Adani can expect is limited to what Modi can do for Adani in India, which means that he will possibly be shielded from the ED, CBI and IT department. But even doing so is complicated for Modi. The officials who received $228 million of the total amount paid in bribes are from Andhra, whose ruling party TDP is an ally of the BJP coalition government. Chandrababu Naidu has been CM for close to 7 months, during which he had sufficient time to rescind the purchase of expensive power from Solar Energy Corporation of India, or SECI, which buys solar power from Adani. The investigations against Adani were reported by Bloomberg and by Economic Times as early as March 2023, hence he cannot deny any knowledge of the expensive power purchase agreements. Sooner or later, he too will come under fire, and to protect his interests, he may even do a volte-face and join the demand for JPC probe into the corruption that has taken place in India. Likewise, J&K too purchased power at exorbitant rates when the state was under president's rule. Questions will also have to be answered as to what the BJP governments in Chhattisgarh and Odisha did to rescind the exorbitant power purchase agreements from the union government-run Solar Energy Corporation of India, or SECI, after it came to power in those states. Right now the BJP is trying to wriggle out of the severe quandary through finger-pointing, but that won't solve the huge political problem that Modi now faces over Adani, especially with the parliament session beginning on Monday. The opposition has already asked for the arrest of Adani, of others accused by DOJ, and also of officials in India who received the bribes. It is a given that Adani's many illegal activities will dominate the session. Clearly, because of the scale and seriousness of the crime and Modi's weaker political position than earlier, the Modani romance has hit testy waters, while the sunset on the Adani ill-gotten empire possibly seems to have begun. The days ahead will reveal a clearer picture. Thank you for watching this video, and if you have not already done so, do subscribe to this channel for cutting-edge news reports and analysis. Thank you once again.